Hey guys, welcome back again. We have another quick video. I think this one's gonna be a quick one. I decided to make this video because my brother actually sent me a really funny but also super cool video. I'm a big fan of barbershop tags. I used to do them when I was younger. It's super fun to do with a group of friends. And I think that after watching the video that I'm about to show you, I think you're gonna realize why it's so enjoyable and cool as well. Obviously, credits to the creator of the video, awesome vocals by Tim Warwick, definitely check him out. So here's the video, and then I'll talk about why I wanted to make a vocal technique video out of it. So, Cornbread, super simple, super awesome, super funny, awesome vocals as well. Again, credits to Tim Warwick. Now, why am I showing this video at all? And what do I want to talk about when it comes to vocal technique? So obviously, the first comment that my brother made, as well as all the comments from different people, if you're not already thinking yourself, was, geez, how long does he hold that note for? Wow, he can really hold a note for a really long time. And yes, he does hold a note for quite an impressive amount of time. And I'm here to tell you that if you understand certain basic anatomical principles of the voice, you can also hold this note pretty close or just as long, if not even longer, without having years and years and years of vocal training. So when it comes to holding notes for a very, very long time, I hate the terminology holding. I think it's, holding, hitting notes. These are the types of terminology we need to erase from our minds when singing. Because words hold a very, very strong power. If we're constantly thinking about hitting the high note, well, guess what? You're probably gonna hit it with your throat. You're gonna force, you're gonna grab, you're gonna push, you're gonna try to hit it. No, we don't hit high notes, we sing notes. Holding, same idea. We're thinking of this thing of I'm holding, you're not holding anything. You're maintaining a posture and you want to be well supported. You're singing the note. High notes, low notes, take them away from your vocabulary. There is no high, there is no low. It all lives in the larynx. But besides that, the point that I want to make is something that the great Salvatore Fisichella mentioned, as well as many, many other great singers from the past have mentioned, which is true to this day. When you sing efficiently with good, clear adduction, you do not need much breath to sing notes for a very long periods of time. Singing a note shouldn't take too much breath. And according to his methodology, a quote-unquote high note shouldn't take much breath. If you are adducted correctly, you should be able to sustain that note with very little effort and very little use of air. The less air flowing and blowing through the cords, the longer you will be able to sustain a note. So I have with me balloons! I have already made a video previously using the balloon as a metaphor, as a reference point for those of you that like visualization. And it's a perfect tool and example to talk about this exact concept in singing. So here's a balloon. Let's talk about how the different parts of the balloons, in a way, is going to be a metaphor or a comparison to the different parts of the actual vocal phonation process. So the neck, the little tippity neck of the balloon, this little area right here, these are gonna be your vocal cords that open and close. This neck itself is gonna be the larynx, your windpipe. You're gonna wanna keep an open throat, meaning keep this neck open. Don't constrict it. Keep it open. And finally, this area, which is the actual balloon part itself that inflates, is gonna be our lungs. And there's actually gonna be one more element that I'm gonna add, which is my hand. My hand pressing up against the lung, that's gonna be my diaphragm, okay? So, we inflate the balloon. We open up the throat and take a breath, similar to doing this. Great. So, what am I doing right now? So that air doesn't escape, I am closing those little edge of the balloons, that area that we quote unquote called the vocal cords, right? What I'm doing right now with the balloon would technically be the same as me taking a breath and then holding my breath. Not allowing anything to happen. The cords are shut. Now, something very important to note, whenever you take a breath, because the lungs act as a vacuum, the air that you take, immediately, the air that you inhale, as soon as you're done with the inhalation process, it wants to escape, just like this balloon. The air wants to escape. Therefore, we have a buildup of pressure inside this balloon. And when we sing and we take a breath, we have a buildup of pressure. That air, as soon as we're done inhaling, wants to escape. Now, what we do in the next phase, the exhalation phase, is what dictates what kind of quality of sound and efficiency in vocal phonation we will have. So, if I take a breath and sing like this, very much in styles of some pop songs, some sort of breathy vocal fry crooning that, is done with a microphone, fine. But just so you're all aware, because it's a breathy tone and the vocal cords are open and loose, all this air that you have, right, and the diaphragm pushing up is just escaping. Therefore, you're not going to have a lot of breath capacity. You're not going to be able to sustain notes for a very long time because what you're doing is literally this. What Salvatore Fisichella, along with many other great tenors, are talking about is if you sing with an open throat, clear adduction in the sound, then you don't need much breath at all to sustain a note, very similar to our Cornbread video. So if we repeat the process, we take a breath, an inhalation, open the throat, right? Because I can't inhale the balloon if I'm holding it with a closed neck, a closed throat. Can't take a really good deep breath, right? We want to expand the intercostals just like the balloon expands. We want to make sure that this valve, this neck part, is open. This is your valve. Keep it round. Don't constrict it. Don't strangle it. Open. We have our breath. I'm holding the vocal cords closed right now, right? That's the metaphor. So that air doesn't escape because it wants to escape. Very similar to the Valsalva. Now, we don't sing in the Valsalva, right? But what we want to do, okay, is pretty close, but we don't want to completely close the vocal cords like I'm doing here. I'm closing the balloon. What I want to do is find such clear adduction while allowing air to escape, okay? Air will escape through the vocal cords, but the cords are much, much adducted than in our first example when we were singing like this. They're very similar to this idea. Very similar to this idea. So as you can see, same amount of breath. However, one example is not using the air efficiently. The other one, however, same amount of breath, but because of adduction, we have breath efficiency and we can now sustain a tone for long periods of time without feeling that we're running out of air. So for those of you that are commenting, wow, how does Tim Warwick sustain a note for such a long time? Well, he is adducting very well. And you see, adduction isn't a concept that's just used in opera singing. It can be used in this type of genre as well. It can be used in many types of genre. With adduction comes more pressure. Why does adduction induce more pressure? More subglottic pressure, pressure underneath the cords? Well, because the air that we breathe once our diaphragm is pushing up against the lungs, because it doesn't have a completely open door, an open escape, an open airway to just escape, where there is no pressure or resistance needed for the air to escape, because the cords are not loose and open, we now have resistance. That same volume of air wants to escape, but now it is not allowed to escape all at once. Opening of the airway is much more narrower, much more adducted. Therefore, and I'm gonna need both my hands, so I'm gonna use my chest. Imagine the chest is gonna be the diaphragm, okay? Therefore now, there's more pressure involved. There's more pressure involved. With pressure comes resonance, comes squillo, comes volume. Also, one of the many reasons why this squeak is much more resonant and more voluminous than this. That's not very voluminous, very weak. So for those of you at home pondering, how do I sustain a note for long periods of time without running out of breath, think of yourself as the balloon. Inhale, nice and deep, open the throat, expand the intercostals so that they get out of the way, they're not an obstacle, the lungs can inflate deeply, the diaphragm can descend deeply, and now adduct. Obviously, I'm doing that on purpose so that you can hear the adduction, almost like a little light cough, bringing the chords together. As you sing, maintain the adduction. Maintain the breath pressure, maintain that feeling of appoggio, maintain the adduction. Don't give up. And don't give up on the open throat either. No. Maintain. So that's the video for today. As always, like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the content and if the information has benefited you in any way in your singing journey. That's what the channel is all about. If you disagree with me or you hate everything I say, like I always tell in all my videos, no one is forcing you to do this. There is no need for any mean or aggressive comments. I can tell you right now, any comments without any constructive criticism or any sort of actual knowledge and vocal education involved in it just will be deleted. I'm super excited about our 20,000 subscriber giveaway raffle. We're gonna announce it soon so you can see the prizes involved in that. So keep your eyes out for that because it's gonna be some pretty cool prizes. Become a CTS member as you get special benefits and perks. And as always, it helps me to continue to give you guys this type of content. Continue studying, continue practicing, and like always, the work continues.